Thank you, Paul, for such a nice introduction. Slides, please. It is. We have so many challenges: carbon, flood, drought, habitat loss, and healthy of human being. So what's actionable, scalable solution to do that, to solve all the problems? So that I promote to create a sponge city, and now I want to say it is a sponge planet. Certainly with challenges you have seen, I don't want to go through many of that, you know all that. Now the conventional solution is great infrastructure. We are talking about adaptation. But wait a minute, adaptation can be very costly. Culver Dam, Yangtze River Dam, aqueduct, these will reduce the resiliency at all, actually. And once it collapses, it will be catastrophic. It will be millions of people can killed overnight. Now, this is what's happening today. You can see that's Libya, that 10 years ago, China, and that's Kenya. And a day ago, just a couple of days ago, Brazil. Now these, and this, are you going to, for the governor, are you going to invest more on creating this infrastructure? Because it will double your, not only investment, but it will double the carbon emission. And they will be catastrophic because they will fail and they're going to fail and already failed. So that's the problem. Now here you can see at the same time, we have to understand that water is the key here. When we are talking about water here, I have to mention the scientific data to show that 24 to 40% of water that causes sea level rising is actually from the land itself, from the dry out of groundwater. That's why when we talking about sea level rising, the key is the solution actually on the land. Now, I have to mention that carbon emission is largely a carbon-oriented or carbon-centered solution. We all know it's not enough, so we need a very holistic solution for carbon or for mitigation. Second, by adaptation, gray infrastructure is need a new solution, which we are talking about nature-based solution. But nature-based solution need focus. Where is nature? Everywhere is nature. So where are you going to put the money? Use nature as an infrastructure. Now that's the key. Third, we're all talking about solving the problem of global climate change. But the global change is a tragedy of commons. There's no responsibility. Carbon trading or carbon credit is just difficult to operate. You know, it can be manipulated. Or Pop says that it can be a greenwash. So that's why we need a solid, implementable solution. Now this solution, I would say, is nature-based, water-driven, holistic solution. Sponge planet. How sponge planet can work? We all talk about the globe, but is that expensive? My experience is no. Based on my 25 experience, we can make it cheap and can immediately have effect. The philosophy is to retain water at the source. Whenever water fall, keep it. The second principle, slow down water flow. When you drink, whenever water flow, slow down, not flush away. That's what's happening today. And at the end, when water accumulates, adapt to water, not build the wall against water. So three principles totally opposite to what we practice today. Business as usual, great infrastructure, engineering solution. For sponge slope, the sponge farm, the sponge water flood, water shade, the sponge city, and the sponge coast, shoreline. This, we have to think about that. Now, is that practical? Yes, look at that. Look at the miles, thousands of miles global surface. It's been built to adapt this kind of climate change. Climate change is nothing new for those monsoon region. In my country, miles, thousands of miles slope being built based on the adaptation to climate change. It's a hot season, it's a wet season and the dry season. And they use very simple tool from the slope to the delta area. In Pearl River Delta River area, in the Yangtze River Delta area, we create this pond and dike system, which are productive, which are biodiverse, which are beautiful, which are sustainable, which certainly safe for 1,000 years. Now the problem is that industrial civilization virtually wiped out all this heritage, all this kind of cultural heritage of adaptation. So the past 25 years, I was able to try to upgrade those very ancient heritage, such as terracing, ponding and diking, and islanding. Remember, in Aztec, Mexican culture, people grow farm on the lake. That's islanding. So all these can be upgraded to solve today's global issues. For example, 65% of Chinese cities suffering monsoon flood every year. Now, how can you retain water in the city? This is my experiment in the city of Sanya before and after. It only takes 3 years to finish. And it's such a sustainable and economically viable, beautiful, biodiverse. It can accumulate water during the monsoon season and recycle during the dry season. Birds come back to the city. People are happy, much healthier during the COVID. People can walk above the canopy. The city just grows around the sponge. Banjakiti forest, right in the middle of Bangkok. Just need 1 year, we build it. Use the army to transform a ground turn into a sponge. The army, that's, you can see, a huge part that can reduce regulate 1 million cubic meter of stone water. And it's such a beautiful central park for Bangkok. Here you can see biodiverse 90 species birds come into the city and 100,000 people just use it every day. Property value just increased dramatically. In my case, in Sanya, quadrupled in 5 years the property value. And you don't need much skill actually. The army operating on this kind of project. Slow down. In China, in my own hometown, people building the concrete flood wall, try to drain away the flood every year. Now the solution is opposite. We remove the concrete, terracing the riverbank, use vegetation to slow down the water flow. Now that's, you can see how the city become much more resilient than before. And certainly it is beautiful, it is sustainable. And also remember, 85% of sewage, global-wise, drain into the ocean untreated. Now, are you going to treat it into the sewage treatment? Now, that costs 4% of energy. Remember, that costs emission again. But the nature can actually solve the problem in a much, much better way. This is my case here. 2 miles and 2 square kilometers in size are waste, solid waste, which is polluted, of course, and also at the same time, water is polluted. So we actually irrigate the waste, use the sewage water, and create a habitat for vegetation. Meanwhile, the water gets cleansed by the nature itself, you can see. So that's the solution. You can see we have a measurement, we have data, we have performance test. These are all the tests you can see. It is just so cheap, so fast. And we are talking not about just a piece of land. We are talking about the whole ocean. It is a 500,000 square kilometer size China's ocean, you can see, heavily polluted. Now this is a pilot project, create a sponge coast area. Solve the problem of ocean, but not from the ocean itself, but solve the problem on the land. Just use a sponge to stop the urban runoff, the chemical runoff from the agricultural field. And that's today you can see, and birds come back, and the beautiful, sustainable coastal line. What about sea level rising? Adaptation, of course, but are you going to build these walls against the surge, against sea level rising? Not necessarily. Or even much better solution is to remove the concrete wall. That's the site in Sanya in Hainan Island. We literally remove the concrete and let water in to create a blackish water habitat for mangrove to grow just in 3 years. You can see it's become more resilient, a habitat for birds, and a beautiful park for the people to use actually daily. Now I'm talking about the whole wall. It's miles and miles of wall here in Haikou in China. That's the wall I'm going to deal with. That's after the wall was built. But remember, before the wall was built, it is actually much better habitat, large vegetation. So the wall destroys the habitat. Why? Because once the salty water flap over the wall, the salination causes the soil deteriorating, degraded, to kill the vegetation. The solution is a breathing seawall. We remove the seawall, actually, remove the top level, the top half of the seawall, let the wall be permeable to breathing. That's create a park along the coast. You can see from the concrete, the vegetation. Now that's before, this the after. That's after, only 2 years after. That's today, that's the seawall before. Now that's today's coastal resilient flood wall. That's today, yeah. So I'm talking about the transformation of the whole infrastructure today. The industrial technology-based infrastructure is simply non-resilient. We need a nature-based solution. Get rid of all this. Remove the concrete. This is a 20 miles long river corridor, and we built just 1 year. That's the construction process. Terracing the riverbank, catches the stormwater runoff, and creates this beautiful park. And by the way, the nutrients are nutrients. They are not pollutants. They are nutrients for vegetation, and they increase the biomass and absorbs the carbon, of course, and a beautiful park. So that's our practice. In the past 25 years, we built over 1,000 projects in more than 200 cities, try to transform locally, but certainly globally. Because remember, when you have Boston Harbor flood level increase, the water comes from Amazon, comes from Yangtze River. So what are you going to invest? You should invest in Amazon watershed, not Boston Harbor flood wall. That's my talk. Thank you.